Hey guys, and welcome to another Betwixt the Books day. Today we're going to be doing a TBR video, which we don't normally do. I think the only time that we ever actually do TBRs either has to do with our year-long reading challenge or Booktubeathon over the summer. But there's an event going on right now that is close to both of our hearts in a little bit of a different way. That is Middlegrade March. So this is sort of a month-long readathon that's being hosted by two booktubers, the first being Katie at Life Between Words, and the second being Krista from Books and Jams. And I'll link their video announcement thing down below in the description. Essentially, they wanted to promote middle grade books, which is something that I'm super into. I read middle grade all the time. Gretchen's going to school for children's literature, so it's obviously something that she's thinking about a lot right now. We wanted to talk about some of the middle grade books that we're going to be reading, hopefully this month, but just in the future. If you don't normally read middle grade fiction, this is a great way to introduce a bunch of stuff. They do have challenges. If you do need that to narrow down sort of which books to read, if even the challenges seem too much, they're doing a readathon of this guy, The Girl Who Drank the Moon, which was the 2017 Newbery Medal winner. So it's like an award-winning book. It's, I guess, one of the best in children's literature from last year, 2 years ago, because it would have come out in 2016, right, to win the 2017 prize. So this one's one to pick up for sure. It's a book about, I guess, sort of a witch. There's this group of people who every year sacrifice a baby to the witch by leaving this baby there, but she's not an evil witch, so she finds new homes for the babies. And I guess this is going to be one of the girls that sort of got switcherooed there by the witch. She got sacrificed. So that's definitely an interesting story. The names sound like it might have some Asian influences. There's a paper crane in the corner, which sort of implies that as well. If that interests you, this is definitely one to pick up because a bunch of us are going to be reading it and talking about it. But I just wanted to throw that out there. The rest of this is going to be more of the stuff that we in particular are interested in.
So the first book that I'm going to talk about is The Secret of Dreadwillow Carse by Brian Ferry. I was just reading the back of this while Michaela and I were prepping for this, and I found out that Brian Ferry has a cat named Meowzebub, and now I want to be his friend. But anyway, onto the book. This is the story of a world where there is a monarchy, and a princess in this monarchy is told that she can't go into Dreadwillow Carse or the monarchy will topple. But she's really curious about what is happening in this place, so she teams up with a peasant girl, and she tells this girl, you know, if you go into the Carse and tell me what's there, I'll find your long-lost father. But then the girl who goes into the Carse goes missing, and the princess is like, well, I sent you in there, I gotta go save you. So it's a story of two girls and their friendship and, you know, risking everything to save a friend. So I'm really excited to read this one. I'm a sucker for a good fantasy middle grade, so I'm excited.
My first pick that I'm picking is Mary Poppins by P.L. Travers. I was surprised. I'm running a D&D campaign currently, and one of my players didn't know that Mary Poppins was a book, and in fact a book series before it was a Disney movie. And that breaks my heart because it was one of my favorite books growing up. I loved this series to the point where I went and got a box paperback set as an adult to own because I no longer have my super old hardback books that I had when I was a kid. If you don't know the story of Mary Poppins, then I don't know who you are and how you managed to get through life without seeing that Disney movie. I will say that the story got Disney-fied, which anybody who knows Disney at all knows sort of what that means, and that it was made more happy-go-lucky than the story actually is. But this is a really good reason to pick this guy up and read the original source material and sort of see what it's about. If you like Mary Poppins and read the book and like that, I recently watched the movie Saving Mr. Banks, which was the biopic about how the movie Mary Poppins came to be.
Full of lies.
Which is also a little bit Disney-fied, but it's an interesting story to read and like understand and like enjoy. Plus it has Tom Hanks as Walt Disney, and like what else could you want in the world? And if you didn't know, they are making a sequel of sorts with Emily Blunt and Lin-Manuel Miranda, loosely based on Mary Poppins Comes Back, which I think they're titling Mary Poppins Returns for the film. But yeah, that's another reason to pick these guys up.
So my second pick is a little bit on the different side, depending on how you feel about novels in verse. So yes, this is Full Cicada Moon by Marilyn Hilton. It's a really big award winner, so you may have heard about it before. This tells the story of Mimi. She is half black, half Japanese, and she is moving to Vermont at the time that the Apollo 11 mission is going on. And so there's a lot of things going on. Is that because of the Apollo 11 mission, she really wants to become an astronaut and she's really interested in space. And also she just moved to Vermont, and Vermont is a lot of white people. So she's trying to live in this new environment where people are like, wow, you're weird because you're mixed race, not white. And also she wants to be an astronaut, but everyone's saying, girls can't be astronauts. So it's a lot of being boxed in by your race, by your gender, and it's also told in verse. So I'm really excited about this one because I think it'll be just a really interesting read all around. And I'm also super excited about astronauts and space in general as well. So I'm just really excited for a lot of reasons for this one. Speaking
of racial diversity, my second pick is The Night Parade by Catherine Tangery. It is a book on similar veins of something like Narnia or the Penderwicks, where kids go from the bustling city to the country, and the country has all of these weird magical type things going on. In this case, it's based in Japan. She's moving from Tokyo to a rural area to spend time with family. She ends up invoking a death curse on her family and has to use some like really cute little Japanese spirit guides and her friends to solve the puzzle before she gets killed and can't be alive anymore. So that's an interesting sort of take on that whole genre of like kids go out to the country and magic stuff happens.
And for book 3, I have Step Up to the Plate, Maria Singh by Uma Krishnaswamy. That may not be how you say her last name. I'm sorry. But this tells the story of, surprise, Maria Singh. She lives in California during World War II era, and she is half Indian, half Mexican, and she really, really wants to play in the first all-girls softball league. But of course, you know, during World War II, there's a lot of like racism issues going on attached to the war, which has a lot of, you know, people's tensions really running high. And she just really wants to play softball. But of course, she can't just play softball because she's half Punjabi and half Mexican. And there's a lot of things going on out in California. So I think you can tell that the last block of my class is based on, we've been doing different minority groups literature, and now we're moving towards like stories about mixed race and different stories like that. So I think you can tell a bit where this has gone, but I'm really excited because I just love, well, I love baseball more, but softball is basically the same thing, and it's the only thing that they allow girls to play past a certain age. So by default, I love softball because they kicked me out of baseball. Anyway, that is this one. This one I had never heard of before, so I'm really excited to get into the meat of this one because it has a lot of historical and cultural implications for us as America.
My last pick, and therefore the last book we're going to be talking about in this video, is actually a sequel to a book that I read in 2016, and that is Mark of the Plague, which is the second book in the Blackthorn Key series. The Blackthorn Key was a super interesting book that I did a review of all on its own, which I will link up above once we're done. But this one has to do with the same characters in a different situation. So in the first one, it was a like a murder mystery based book. This one is a, I guess, plague based mystery, Mark of the Plague. The bubonic plague has returned to London, and the characters are trying to find a cure and fix it because they're all alchemists. The thing that was super interesting about this series in particular was that there was a little bit more violence in it than in normal middle grade books or in most middle grade books that I'm used to, but I liked that because it had consequences. So like all of the actions these characters took had consequences, which made it feel more real. And in like a murder mystery / high stakes type adventure, that's super important. It's definitely one that's aiming towards the higher end of middle grade, so closer to your like 11, 12-year-olds than it is your like 8, 9-year-olds, which is a huge difference once you're that age. But at the same time, it's one that I really loved and I wanted to pick up the sequel, but it's really thick. So we'll see how that goes.
So that is all we have for our TBR today, but we also have read middle grade before and reviewed middle grade before. I haven't done it as much as Michaela has because I'm primarily a teen YA reader, but we are both really sinking our teeth into this particular genre at this particular time. So we will be creating and linking a playlist of all of our other middle grade reviews, like the Blackthorn Key that Michaela mentioned, and all that other stuff. So if you want to check out some other reviews for maybe your own books for middle grade March or just your own reading, really, we got that. We got that for you. Also, don't forget that, speaking of teen books, the Bibliomancy for Beginners pick for the end of March is Being Fishkill by Ruth Lair. I think this is technically shelved as a teen book. However, according to Taylor, it is set in middle school. Yeah, so the characters are actually 9 or 10 years old, which is about the range of middle grade. So if you want to read a technically YA book about 9 to 10-year-olds, because genre is weird, man, we will be discussing that and much more the last Wednesday in March, probably, but the last week of March. So you can pick that up and read that with us, and watch me talk a lot about how I find every book that Taylor picks weird. So join us for that, read along with us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.